My sturdy oak Will Carr is off.
Hold on. It just there's like a little buffer at the start. All right, now it's starting. You want to just
All right.
restart. Now we are live.
Welcome everybody to Dispatch Radio. I am your host Russ Rizzo, flying a bit solo today without my sturdy oak Will Carr, who
has the stream open. It sounds like. Oh, is that you?
Who's that?
That's me. Sorry, we're good.
We are now streaming live, but we got my man Jake in the house. Producer Jake, what's up? How you doing?
I am very good today.
All right.
How are you?
Doing well. We're going to restart one more time for you for our podcast listeners and get rolling here. Welcome everybody to Dispatch Radio. I am your host Russ Rizzo, flying a bit solo today without my sturdy oak Will Carr, who's out busy doing dad stuff. Thank you to our sponsors, Genesee Nutrition, who are helping us live healthy, happy, active lifestyles with delicious guys. I'm telling you, Genesee, for our YouTubers out there, delicious cookies and cream is what I'm going to be getting into today. Jake, producer Jake, what's up? How you doing, man?
I'm great.
All right.
Hanging in there.
I'm going to give you a quick question. Well, first of all, Jake, we got to give you some props because Jake has been getting out there and doing a little bit of running. Is that right?
It's true. For many years, I'm 23 just recently, and for 21-ish, maybe even 22 years, never really tried running, but recently I've been getting into it just the past few months, and just this week I have not gone this far, just kind of like was out running and kind of accidentally ran 8 miles, which was a lot for me, considering that I'm not a runner, but I've been enjoying it. So
well, a note for you, producer Jake.
I'm getting into it.
We need some kazoo noises for that. Woo woo! Great job. An accidental 8-mile run. That's pretty damn. I remember when I hit about that 8 to 10 mile, you feel like you're just like, holy shit, like the human body's like more capable of what I now. Okay, so now, how about this? How about 50 miles a day for 22 days in a row? How does that sound? Well, that's what our guest today did. Running through the swamplands of Florida, no less, crocodiles. No thanks. Sean Runbum Blanton, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
All right. We're excited to have you. You've got the right shirt on for the show. It says Georgia Death Race.
In case I see you squinting, and just so you realize that I definitely drive this like a little too much, and it like was a large, and now it's like
going with the tight. What do we think, Avery Collins? Professional ultra runner Avery Collins dialing in from, well, I assume Steamboat, but it might be the San Juans. What do we think of the Run Bum tight tee look?
Dude, Run Bum looks like he's in shape. I don't blame him for wearing him a nice slim fit like that.
I know, I'm a little baggy. Hold on, let's see. Hold on, we'll get a little.
You got it. Show your cards.
We've got the stylish D for our YouTubers here. Yeah, I'm not tight enough. We got to get tighter. We got to go tighter.
Yeah. Oh, and to clarify, Silverton, yes.
Silverton. Oh, yes. And is that permanent residency, Avery?
Yeah, we've been here since 2018.
Congratulations. Pretty awesome place to live. Is that that's like the Switzerland of Colorado?
It is bar none the best mountain range in Colorado, yes. Very biased, but I think it's also very true.
So on the show today, we've got a really magical mix of Southern meets West. I'm an Atlanta boy. Sean, Run Bum's an Atlanta boy.
Yeah, buddy.
And Avery's got some deep Southern roots. So, we're going to get into it. To both of you right off the bat here, what's harder? What are the differences? If I'm going to do an ultra out West, what am I going to face versus if I'm going to do one of the Run Bum Tour races? And we're going to get into the Georgia Death Race, which the Run Bum Tours puts on. They put on, is it about a dozen now, Sean?
I think we got 11 now. It's like about 10 too many for my.
All right. So you put on 11 races, and you're a good one to ask because you've done a lot of running out west, and you also put on an ultra out west. Yeah. So let's just start off right there, Sean. What are the differences, and can I push you to tell me if one's harder than the other?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, so that's like the age-old question, right? And ultimately, like this race, Georgia Death Race, kind of got started that way. I've been ultra running for like 13, 14 years, and now I've race directed full time for the last 7 years and race directing for 10. I just stay injured because I'm sitting all the time. Everybody's like, oh man, I bet you're off doing all this shit. And it's like, I was at one point, but now there's just so much shit to do. I do a lot of trail work. So when I first started race directing, and the reason we put on this Georgia Death Race was I got tired of going to like California and Utah and stuff and running, and people were like, oh, where are you from? You know, you run with somebody during a race. That's one of my favorite things. You meet people, you talk to them, right? Guys, girls, whatever. You meet people, and they're like, oh yeah, I live in Atlanta. They're like, that sucks. You know, like no mountains there. I'm like, actually, man, like North Georgia has amazing mountains. And it was just like, yeah, but not real mountains. You know what I mean? And so like, I kind of like, it's always like been or was a chip on my.
Let's pause right there. So what does that mean? When they say not real mountains, what does that mean exactly?
I think
they're thinking not the 14ers. They're not as tall.
It's like, obviously we don't have that. I mean, I'm like the biggest person. Like, I'm gonna tell you now, my age and where I am at running and stuff. It's like, I'm not trying to compare or try to be better or, you know, whatever. Everything is beautiful. Like, we have an amazing country with amazing people and so many different environments. I mean, like, man, I love Utah, right? That's why I put on the U150 mile out there. Like, it is an incredible, environment, and just like, it's like you're running in Mars, and you're in alpine lakes and in the desert, right? We don't get that in North Georgia, but what we do get is like amazing spring, fall, like beautiful trails. Yeah, you're not really getting above tree line, but it makes you appreciate the viewpoints. You get much better. And as Carl Meltzer said, I love Carl, Carl's a buddy. He said one time when he goes, you know, when people were kind of shitting on like East Coast stuff, he goes, I actually enjoy running in the woods. Like, call me Robert Frost, you know? And I said, oh, it's 100%.
And routes too. You get into a lot of routes, and then not as established trails, right? Like, maybe if you come out west, you expect some pretty well-groomed, manicured trails where you might get pretty gnarly in the South.
Sure. You know, every now and then I'm just joking. I'll be like, yeah, you know, California's got those country club trails, you know, like, you know, it's like somebody's driving their golf cart up and down that, you know, keeping them clean.
Let's get Avery in on this. The difference that you found between running out here in the West and running down South. And we're, you know, I know you've done the Georgia Death Race. You won it in 2017. Maybe, you know, can you remember the first time you went to an ultra in the South, and kind of what the expectations were versus what reality was?
Well, I mean, the South was where I started mountain running. And I mean, I consider it to be mountains. And I mean, I think a prime example. So first off, I want to say Sean is spot on. I mean, I agree with him. It's, you know, the West versus East Coast mountain running. It's just different. I mean, it's unfair to say that even that West Coast is not technical versus East Coast not being technical. They both have buffed out trails. They both have technical trails. They both have a variety of trails. It's just different. I mean, personally, I've run Quest for the Crest twice, and this year will be my third time. And I'll say, having ran some of the most technical races in the world, like even including the Grand Raid on Reunion Island, mile for mile, Quest for the Crest is the most technical race I've ever done, which I would say is probably the most technical trail race in the US. And I don't think there's a lot of US runners that can really argue with me on, outside of Sabrina, who I live with, that they've done more technical races than like myself and Sabrina have. And Sabrina agreed. And I remember before Quest for the Crest last year, I told her and Devin, I said, I'm telling you, this is mile for mile the most technical race there is. And Sabrina didn't believe me. And at the end of the race, she was like, that shit was legit.
Just so we're clear, what do you mean by technical?
I mean, yeah,
rock.
yeah. I mean,
yeah, like you could die kind of stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, anything that could roll an ankle or make you trip or just add to the difficulty. I think, one thing that makes Quest for the Crest so interesting is even when you do get flat terrain up on the ridge, it's super windy. It's lots of scrambling over just 10, 15-foot rock pitches. And it's not a straight shot across the ridge. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, both wherever you live, whether it be on the West or the East Coast, you can find incredible trail running. They're just different. And they work different muscle groups in a very different way. West Coast running is sustained grade climbing, and East Coast is very pumpy 500 to 1500 foot climbs outside of the Asheville area. Asheville area has plenty of 4,000 foot climbs, as Sean knows, and that's kind of an anomaly for a lot of the East Coast and Southern East Coast. But that's what makes the Asheville area so special. And that was where I got into trail running, which is why I've been trying my best for the last decade to go out there every single summer to run to some capacity, whether it be for fun or for a race or whatever it may be. And I've done pretty well on that.
And Sean, is the pitchel something is that something you've done? Is that
so
the guys that put that on? Are those kind of your peeps over there?
Oh, I love Adam Hill. So Adam Hill that puts that on he's a legend.
He's a rad dude. We've had him on the show.
He's a good buddy. Like, I haven't seen him for a couple years, but I used to date a girl in Asheville, so I was up there like all the time. And this is a really funny story. I would try to be brief about my pitchel experience, right? So this is before I really knew the trails there.
And for listeners that aren't familiar, would just exactly what the pitchel is.
Yeah, so pitchel is Mount Mitchell. So you go from the summit of Mount Pisgah, which is visible from downtown Asheville, all the way to the summit of Mount Mitchell, which is the highest point east of the Mississippi. It's like 66, 76, or 56, something like that, which we also summit during Quest for the Crest. And so you're on the mountains, the sea trail, and then you kind of get off on some side trails at the end. Now, you start, like, the traditional thing was you start at midnight, all right? And these guys started this like way back. They're like, it's pitchel, like whatever. And they always do it like mid-October, when the leaves are changing. It's fucking gorgeous, right? And the trail is awesome, So you start off, and it's basically the first 50K is all downhill, okay? You go from the summit of Mount Pisgah down to Asheville. So
it's already starting off sounding real good to me, Jake. I mean, we're starting off at midnight. I'm picturing a full moon, and then we're starting off downhill. So that sounds great.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, and he didn't mention that you have to take a moonshine shot at the start.
Yes. So the second half is all uphill, and it's gnarly technical, like stuff like Avery's talking about. Okay, so we get up there. I didn't really know what to expect. Like, you can't sleep because it's at midnight, right? So I show up to Asheville. This guy, Adam Hill, we're at his house. Basically like a weird, like, Thanksgiving fucking dinner that he has before it at his house. Like, weird as shit. People are wearing Christmas sweaters and shit. I didn't know what to expect. So you go to Mount Pisgah parking lot, and you have to hike a mile up to the actual summit. So we get up there, and there's like a little pavilion, a little tower thing up there, right? And all of a sudden, there's like maybe 7 or 8 of us. And they pass around this jar of moonshine. It's like, dude, look, I've done my fair share of drinking. Moonshine's not, really my cup of tea. I remember just taking a big swig of it. Big was like way too much. And immediately I was like, that was a horrible life choice. Within 2 miles of running downhill, so everybody howls at the moon. This dude, Adam, has like Adidas road racing flats on with no shirt on, no socks, fucking just bombs down. Always like some little freaking like Walmart handheld flashlight, just bombs down the sketchiest trail ever. Okay. And then he's gone, and we're like, oh shit. So we're kind of jogging down there. Within a mile, Russ, I was throwing up, like projectile vomiting from that fucking moonshine. It was horrible. I'm like, somebody made this in their goddamn bathtub. Like, it was bad. And I'll just
you did it right though. It sounds like you finished it.
Yeah, I did not.
Did not. Oh, DNF. Okay.
So this is the fucked up part, right? So Adam's like, oh, we've got aid the whole time, like whatever. And I'm like, all right, sweet. So the first 50K, we dropped our own aid. The second aid, I'm like, cool, perfect. So his definition of aid was water and fucking Gatorade. So for doing this 100K thing, the last 50K K, like all hard stuff. All I had was water and Gatorade. I was so hungry, dude. I was so malnourished. It crisscrosses the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I was having to like beg food off people, and I obviously look homeless. That's where like the name Run Bum kind of comes from. So I'm walking up to people like, "Hey, bro!" Like some guy was eating French fries with his like wife or lady at this overlook. I said, "Hey, man, can I have those fries?" And he kind of took one look at me. He's like, "I think you need them more than I do," and he gave them to me. So I ate like half a thing of like cheese fries off some fat guy on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and that was like all the food I had. And we were just, me and this other guy were pretty much walking the whole second half because we were like, we're so hungry right now, but have no way to get food. And we ended up right before Mount Mitchell at Summit. We're like, it's about to be dark, we're lost. We kind of took this side trail up to the ranger station, and we literally were like freezing. We hid in this bathroom, and I kept hitting the hand dryer, and we were like huddled next to it, and like we're freezing. I mean, it was like just dumb shit.
You guys, if producer Jake ever had any hopes of maybe entertaining an ultra run, I think we may be killing. We might be killing it here. Sean, and Sean, I imagine that's you who's the popular one getting dinged up. We'll let you silence that phone if you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's on my laptop.
So is that true? Did you run 50 miles a day for 22 days in a row through Florida swamps?
So yes, I think run is a really bad.
I know isn't ultra running a little bit of a misnomer in itself.
100%. When people are like, I ran 100 miles, I'm like, kind of. Unless you're Avery. Right. If you're Avery, you ran 100 miles.
But you moved for 50 miles a day.
I did, yeah. It was the average, and it was kind of weird. It wasn't all swamp. Like the first 30 miles was like knee-deep water, but it's like nobody had ever really done it. And I was like, I want to go under 20 days, and kind of writing a book about it. And I went from being like, God, this is beautiful. God, this is amazing. God, this hurts. God, help me. Like, God, why aren't you listening? To I am God. To God damn, it's over. Like, I literally at one point thought that I was controlling the weather. Like, it got weird out there, man. And it's like, I've listened to Carl and Scott and these guys talk about like multi-day journeys or whatever. And people are like, oh, it's flat. How hard can it be? Bullshit. Like, Florida is like, in a 50-mile stretch, you have 10 miles of like, swampy water. And then you have, 20 miles of like fully, most of it is like fully exposed. It could be 20 degrees outside. It could be 90 degrees.
I mean, Avery, I don't know about you, but the thing that would worry me on this is that the crocodiles, or is it alligators there? What are they called?
It's alligators. Yeah.
Alligators. Like, how did you?
Dude, fuck that.
How much danger was there? Did you confront any alligator danger? What did you do to avoid alligator danger?
So gators are interesting. I think the word is like poikilotherms or poikilotherms, where they're relying on ambient air temperatures and water temperatures to warm up. Kind of like snakes, they're cold-blooded, right? So they're not typically very active like in the winter months. So like, I'm gonna tell you right now something. Florida is the absolute best place for trail running in the world during the winter. Yeah.
All right.
But do you see gators? Yeah, from time to time, but everyone, we're not used to them. Kind of like,
so is it for us like a mountain lion? Is it like me seeing a mountain lion?
Oh, yeah. Well, and we have mountain lions in Florida as well. We have panthers. So like the first, there apparently one went, a mother and a cub went across the road like 2 minutes before I came down one section, and I was like, damn, because I've always wanted to see one. But
dude, Florida is so different.
What do you think, Avery? How much money would he have to pay you to run through the Florida swamps?
I don't know, man. I just like, I almost did his inaugural event for what was it called, Sean? Florida 120. Yeah. And Sabrina talked some sense into me because I'm like, when it comes to snakes, I'm such a bitch. So
me too, man. I can't do snakes. I can't do crocodiles.
I don't. Yeah, no, dude.
I'll take a bear over a crocodile any day of the week.
Like you saying, they have bears in Florida too, right? I mean,
you've got it all.
It's like everything is eating something. That's true.
This podcast has its origins. Eric Sanders. We did a kind of an open mic story sesh at the Mountain Toad Brewery here in Golden, and Eric Sanders told us about being down in South America for adventure racing and going through swamps with, I don't know if they call them crocodiles down there, and pumas. I'm just like, that's a level above love for the outdoors that I personally possess.
I'm gonna tell you that the real danger in Florida is the Florida man, and that is like, if you've never heard of what the Florida man is like
Florida man. You got to watch out for Florida man.
Yeah. Dude. And I saw
my wife. I did a Florida man reference there. That she's like, what? I'm like, for somebody who is so hip and like plugged in, usually you missed the Florida man. Okay.
And for people who don't know what Florida man is, like, I just give you like a description. It's like, just assume, obviously it's a male, but like assume it's a guy who's typically pretty skinny, probably because of meth or something, missing a couple teeth. He definitely has jorts on that definitely were not purchased. They were jeans at one point, and he definitely made them. Definitely has a pack of smokes, typically rolled up in the sleeve.
Hey, you know what I'm thinking right now? I'm like, oh shit, I could kind of be a Florida man.
I was just thinking that. I was saying you sound like that.
Like, I'm checking a lot of boxes so far.
We need to have a national Florida man appreciation day. Like,
absolutely. All right. Well, hey, Run Bum. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about the races that you put on, and I know a big part of what you do is you like to get people into this sport, this ultra running, which means kind of bringing down barriers. And one of the ways you do it is the language you use, kind of how you present the sport. Because like I know that, normal people think this ultra running that they see in the magazines looks really, really weird, but they see it as kind of one thing, and it can be so many different things. So we want to talk a little bit about that, just kind of your thoughts on kind of where the sport's going, how do we get more people into it, that sort of thing. And we've got, as we mentioned, Avery Collins on the show. We are excited to get reunited with Avery. You've actually won at least one of his races, right, Avery? The Georgia Death Race in 2017.
Yep, and then a couple of Quest for Crest races.
And a couple of Quest for Crest. All right, and that's the super uber technical one that we were mentioning earlier. Sean, will you just give us kind of a quick overview? First, just the origin story. Like, how did the Run Bum, this idea, get started? I know you had a partner to begin with, and now it's just you. And then kind of current day, like, what all are you getting into? How many, tell us a little bit about some of the races. And then we want to talk specifically a little bit about the one close to my heart, which is the Georgia Death Race, because I'm a Georgia boy, and definitely want to get fit enough to do that one day. So take it away. How did Run Bum start?
Yeah, for sure. So this was like, I don't know, Run Bum is now kind of like, I am Run Bum, right? So I used to referee sports 6 days a week. I used to play soccer all the time. And I basically dropped out of college, was pretty much a fucking loser, right? But I always stayed in shape. I fought Muay Thai for a while, shot guns for a while. I started running, right? That's another story. And I would, go on these, this was, 13, 14 years ago, right? Kind of like when, ultra running was, I would say in the last 6 or 7 years, it's really boomed. But when I started running, there weren't really a lot of races. Like, I could count on one hand all the races kind of around me, that people ran, in a year. So I kind of, one day I was like, back when I was, smoking a bunch of weed and stuff, I was like refereeing soccer games, just looked like, this shaggy dude, and people were like, this is a bum. Yeah, I was talking to some guy on the sideline. He's like, what do you do? And I was so embarrassed that I don't want to say, I live in my parents' fucking basement, and basically I referee sports and run. I mean, like, I sound like a loser, right?
So the Run Bum is like, for our Colorado listeners, the ski bum. Like, we got the ski bum, or for like the rock climbers, they got the dirt bagger. It's kind of all the same, similar idea.
100%. And so like, I was talking to this guy like on the sideline, and he was like really intrigued, and he's like, oh, tell me more. And it's like, nobody's ever said that. I'm like, is he like coming on to me? Like, it's like, it was weird. And the next week, the guy comes up to me, his name's Chia, and he's one of my good buddies. He goes, dude, you're the fucking run bum. I was like, what? He goes, we need to talk about business and like, we need to start a company. I'm like, dude, you're high. And he's like, no, meet me at this place for dinner. And again, I'm like, okay, this guy's hitting on me. I'm like, wow, what's the worst that happens, right? So I show up, and that's how we were like, we want to get people in running, and wanted to get, have group runs and all that stuff. No races that was never part of it. So we wanted to sell t-shirts, like life is good kind of thing. And I was like, this is cool. Like, I want people to travel. I want people to step outside of their comfort zones. Like, I want, whether that is through running or trying new food, whatever it may be, but too many people live life with the fucking governor on, with the brakes, with the parking brake on, right? I truly believe that. I skydive, I paraglide, I speed fly, I fought Muay Thai. I've done it all, man, a lot of things. And I wanted to do that. So we kind of started that, and, the t-shirts and stuff didn't really go to plan. And so I randomly was like talking to a guy, and the first race I ever directed ever was actually a Georgia Death Race. And oddly enough, it was like me and this other guy, Brad, and we were going to put on this park to park race because we ran from our two favorite state parks. We connected them via trail. And I was like, that sounds really fucking nice. Like, it really does. Park to pipe, park, lane. So I had just done the Canadian Death Race.
John says, give me death.
Yes, I was like, we need something. Yeah. So ended up, we're going to call it the Georgia Death Race, as hokey as that is. And every race I have is essentially an exaggerated part of, my personality, or, the human psyche, whatever you say. So it's like Georgia Death Race. Everybody goes, oh man, that guy's a dick because he tells people not to finish. It's all part of it, right? On the other races, we're like, we'll hold your hand, we want you to finish, we encourage it. But Georgia Death Race is kind of like wishing you good luck, is being like, you're gonna die, you're not gonna make it. So, in the early days, I had a bunch of people had access to like the Run Bum Facebook page. And I go, whenever you're having a bad day, I want you to go into that Facebook event page on Georgia Death Race. I just lay into the people. Just tell them that they suck.
Wait, so what's the treatment for Quest for the crest then?
So Quest for the Crest is awesome. This is my favorite mountain range. Like, it's what Avery didn't mention is, yes, it is very technical. There's also 12,000 feet of climbing and only 3 major climbs in the whole thing. Okay, and that 12,000 feet of climbing is in the first marathon. So it is brutal, and it is beautiful. It is unlike anything else we have on the East Coast. You're basically going from the valley to the highest mountain range or chain on the East Coast. And so the environment changes in that are incredible, and they happen very rapidly. Like, so you start in a normal forest, and all of a sudden you're getting into rhododendrons, and then you're in the fir trees that are left over. They're Canadian firs left over from the last ice age. I fly my paraglider off there. I hike up there with chainsaws. This mountain range is awesome.
And what range is that?
The Black Mountains. Yeah.
And is that what's the peak that you go? What's the highest peak on
Mount Mitchell? So it
is Mount Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we go up. There's like an observation viewing platform up there, and we go all the way to the top up there. It's cool, and a lot of it's like, you're kind of like semi-autonomic, kind of like UTMB Europe Alps races. Like first time Avery ran it and won it, we make everyone carry like a life straw or like a charcoal filter, because you're gonna have to pull water out, because there's springs all over it flowing across the trail, which is very unique, especially for front runners to have to do. We have 4 or 5 aid stations on it, but it's like, when you're talking about, oh man, this is like 7 miles in between an aid station. Yeah, I mean, that could be 4 hours for some people, with the difficulty of it. And, but it's so, I mean, it's otherworldly. I mean, when you're on top of that chain, it's like, you look around, nothing is close to that height. You're just basically looking down on everything else.
And then you also put on the, what do you do out here? You do the Ute 100 mile, and it's also a 50 mile out in Moab.
Yeah, and it sucked because the last 2 years we had to, we canceled it with COVID, which thankfully that was the only event I canceled. But because there's such a short window to put on an event in the LaSalle's, it's the highest race in Utah. We go up to almost 12.3. So Carl Meltzer, he did it, I guess the last time we did it was 2019. And then this past year, 2021, there was this massive Pack Creek fire. It burned like 45,000 acres. And users started, that was just really, it was devastating because I do so much trail work on that and it burned down a major area that I always end up going and working on. So now the next, 20 years, you have like just deadfall coming down, that we have to clear off. So.
It's kind of eerie and cool sometimes to go through those burned areas. I mean, there's some stretches where you just, especially if you come around, a bend, where it's like lush and then it's just dead. And it's a reminder of just like, and then you look around, you're like, oh my God, how big must that fire have been?
Well, and it's totally natural, right? Like there's a lot of stuff, like I saw a bunch of photos, like right after it, a month or so after, it's like the wildflowers were just insane, right? Because it's like, a lot of things, plants and stuff like that need fire to, to grow and be reborn and stuff like that. So it is totally a natural thing. I just hate that it happened then and there.
Yeah. So Avery, tell us about the Georgia Death Race for folks that aren't familiar. How would you describe this race?
I thought it was really fun, actually. I mean, the one thing that I really appreciate about Sean's races are he marks the course.
That is always helpful.
It's a foreign concept.
He does a good job. You're saying he does a good job with it. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Can I give a little side? Let me do a sidebar on this because I did you were asking earlier about kind of the stuff that I was into. I kind of just, stuff that sounds fun. I don't dedicate myself to one thing, but I try to stay fit enough to be able to do anything. So I'll do a mix of climbing and alpine stuff and running. I did a bike race. I think this was 2 summers ago here in Colorado, a 100-mile bike race, like gravel grind kind of thing, where the marking was, it was literally like a ribbon that big, right?
Yeah.
You're flying on a bike. And there are so many turns on this course. I had 3 buddies do it. All 3 of us got at least 15 extra miles in on a 100-mile course.
Dude. Yeah, story of my life.
Anyway, so ding, 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 Georgia Death Race, well marked. That's a good start.
Yeah, well marked.
I mark everything myself too. Like I don't really trust. I might have a 10% where somebody else marks. Dude, I've gotten lost so many times in fucking race. I'm like, there's no excuse. Like I've had it where one lady used to mark races with these paper plates with arrows, and like it had fallen and gone the other way.
Yeah, when the wind blows, that doesn't work so well. And this is the one where what do you carry, Avery? What does this masochist make you carry?
Yeah, so GDR, you carry a railroad spike. And yeah, there's definitely something to be said about figuring out how to put that in your pack so that it doesn't rub your back raw. But the race itself has a really good course design because and really quickly, Sean, does it switch or alternate directions every year, or is it just one direction?
No, it's just one direction, like Russ's favorite band.
Yeah. So and I recall the first 50K being pretty difficult, and then and I kind of knew that going into it. I've only ran it once, but I kind of studied the course profile and realized that first 50K was pretty difficult, and I was very patient. And it makes for a really fun race for whoever you are if you're very patient and you wait for the back end, because the back 40 miles is like incredible fast running, and even the climb at the very end of the race is far more sustained grade than the first 4 climbs or whatever it is for the first 50K. It's less pumpy, and it's a little easier on the body on the back end of that race, which I think for most people that sets up really well for anyone to have a good race if they're patient, as opposed to doing the easy part in the first half and then the hard part in the second half. And I really enjoyed the course layout. And actually, I wanted
70-ish miles and about 16,000 vert, which
that sounds about right.
People might think like, how do you get 16,000 vert in Georgia? But there's actually mountains in North Georgia.
Yeah. So like it's kind of weird because like the way the course what he's talking about. So basically the first 40 miles almost are entirely on single track. Okay. And the cool history of this, like the Duncan Ridge Trail, the Benton Cow Trail, this section, they built, it's fall line trail, which we don't build anymore. If you've ever been on a trail where you're like, man, this is like rutted out, it's too steep, like that's a design flaw, right? We now know how to build trails, which really IMBO mountain biking helped us with, but they built this section of trail, they put it right on top of this ridge line and went like just, gap to peak, gap, just like that. And the reason they did that is they all of a sudden got wind they were going to extend the Blue Ridge Parkway into Georgia where the current Appalachian Trail was. And they go, oh shit, we've got to like quickly make like a workaround for the trail. And of course it never ended up happening. So then they had this trail system that like basically nobody really used. And about 10, 11 years ago, like one of the local races like basically took over maintenance on this Duncan Ridge Trail. We continue to use it, but it's like, yeah, so the first 40 miles is really kick you in the teeth, but we cannot legally run a race on the Appalachian Trail. So where we get off of the single track and you kind of run dirt roads for like 7-8 miles is to avoid the AT. So we do this big long, which now instead of being a 45-mile race from both parts, you now have this middle section, if you will, from like mile 40 to mile like 65, where you have like a little bit of road, a little bit of trail, but it's so much easier. So it kind of like beats you the hell up in the beginning. You feel hopeless. Then it's like, oh hey, like come on, it's like siren songs. Like come on, we got this easy running yet. And then it's like you start running way too fast. You're like, this is great. And then at the end, the last like half marathon, it's just a kick in the teeth, and you have no hope whatsoever.
Well, sounds really fun for listeners of our show, at least. Jake, I don't think we're convincing you here, are we?
Not for this particular one.
We're not going to get it. I don't think we're getting a producer Jake commitment today, folks. I will commit. Let's see. Well, Avery, what's the next run? But actually, no. I wanted to go back to this. Avery had a nice compliment for you, Sean. He said that of all the race series he's done your races the most. Is that right, Avery? Am I quoting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What should I commit to here, Avery?
What kind of distance, what kind of race do you want to run?
I mean, I've done, I did the 30, the 30 miler out here, the Dirty 30 out here in Golden. I run regularly. I do a lot of donkey racing. So, up to 30 miles.
Well, how about this? So I'm going to give you 3 things here, right?
Right.
So and one thing, before I give you those 3 options, I want to say something to Jake. And I think that it would definitely go further than just him. This goes and it's applicable to not only running, but everything. It's like, again, back to that comment of like us living with the parking brake on. And again, that's not in a negative way. It's our minds, right, are designed this way where it's like, okay, 8 miles hurts, 30 miles has to be fucking horrible, right? It's like more, that's one thing bad and you do more of that. It's different, right? Like, so I always tell people, if you can run a half marathon, like nonstop, doesn't matter what pace it is, if you can run a half marathon, you can do a 50K. You probably maybe get away with 50 miler, depending on the difficulty of that. It's just, you got to mix in walking. And then I try to change people's thinking, like their mindset in the sense of, okay, like we're going to go out and do this. It's not an ultra marathon. You're going out to just fuck around in the woods and like with your buddies, or like, go get stoned and, go run about, or I'm going to run with a credit card. You just have no expectation, right? Like that's the thing. It's like, whatever you thought you knew about running, ultra running is not that, right? Like that will come if you stick with it, but like, it's just go out and have fun, and your body will keep going. It's designed to do that. Obviously slowly build your way up. And the other flip side of that is like, not everybody needs to run an ultra marathon. That's why I put on so many races that are sub ultra distances. Like, I don't think everyone's goal should be to run 100 miles. The people that need that in their life, they go looking for it. I'm here to bring that to more people in the sense of, I think more people can use something like that, but it's kind of like a marathon. A marathon, yeah, it's 26.2 miles, but it's more an ideal, right? That is a really hard distance, and when you're doing really hard, physically challenging things that you don't know that you can do, like you're expanding your mind and your possibilities. And the way I look at it is like, fuck, if I've done 100 miles or I did 50 miles a day, you know, in Florida, like why do other aspects of my life that aren't like physicality based, you know, like mental aspects, you know, going to apply for a new job, like asking somebody out on a date, like, you know, talking, you know, to somebody that might be uncomfortable or, you know, looking at myself, all that stuff gets easier when you relate it to that. So anyways, that's all I'll say about it.
Sean, you make a good point. Jake, I didn't actually give you all of the proper options. Maybe I should give you the full menu. In February, the Run Bum hosts Yeti Nightmare, 5 mile, 10 miles, Sweetwater State Park, Georgia. A little more doable.
We run at night. That's fun.
That's fun. That sounds more like up to Jake's alley there. In April, we got the Brasstown Bald Buster 5K in Brasstown Bald, Georgia. And you do like a half marathon with your Cloudline Canyon. So yeah, and is that intentional, Sean? Are you intentionally doing that? You're like, oh, I want to be able to reach as many different types of people as possible.
So for me personally, like I run ultra distance over 300 times, right? Run 40 races in the Alps. I've done, you know, I was never on Avery's level or anything. I used to run for La Sportiva, very like big fish, small pond, you know, anytime I ever ran into somebody like Avery, they'd be hours in front of me on ultra. Ultra running was never what I was good at. I always like really technical, that 9 mile to like 30K distance as hard as possible. And I think there's a lot of people that like that. So I like racing that. That was what I would do every fucking weekend. I'd be doing that with ultra. Ultra running was just kind of like, yeah, it's a different feeling, right? A different crowd of people. So like when I have these events, right? Like we'll have an ultra marathon, you know, sometimes on the same day, but I try to break it on different days because there's a different vibe. And I don't ever want to diminish or take away. Sometimes, you know, if you're at a race and you know, sometimes you see these races at 17 different distances. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? But I try to keep 3 different distances max, and we'll do it over 2 days. And so like usually on Sunday, we'll have like the half marathon or something. And it's like, it's a totally different vibe. It's fun. And it's like, you know, for some people, that's the hardest thing they ever done, which is awesome. Like, and that's the most that they need. And I love that. Like, again, that's what I'm telling you. Like, I hate when I hear people being like, oh, well, you're only doing this, you're only doing that. It's like, that's bullshit. Like, hold yourself to your standards and like how you were yesterday. You know, I never compare myself to Russ or, you know, to Avery, you know, just for example, I did. But, you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, what do they say is comparison is the thief of all joy, something like that.
And there's, I'm blanking on the name. Is it Aaron Saft? Who he runs a running store in Asheville and does a few races.
He used to run a running store. He sold it. Aaron Sapp is the man. He's won a bunch of my races. He puts on.
Aaron is such a great guy. Yeah, we went out and recorded with him. We did a Asheville blowout show a few years back, and I ran one of his races and just fell in love with like, you know, I'm from the South, but I wasn't a runner back then, so I missed all this. So it's been fun to get back, and you know, I grew up hiking, you know, so a lot of the trails around like Cashiers, North Carolina, and, you know, the Smoky Mountain area, you know, we would hike. And then I moved to Colorado as an adult, started running, got a real good appreciation for the mountains. And so it's fun to come back to the South and get a renewed appreciation. I mean, there are some great trails out there.
100%. And like, you know, we kind of, when I go out west, it's really nice. Or I go down to Florida, it's cool because it's not what I have in my backyard, right? It's different, right? And that's why, you know, that's why everyone, I think, you know, it's healthy and fun to go to new places, you know? And I think that, or I guess my goal with a lot of my races is to bring people from out west back east and them, wow. And you mentioned Cashiers, North Carolina. So I have a new 100-mile, 50-mile. All my stuff I do, I don't do loops. We try there's not really out and backs unless they're minimal, like a couple miles. But I have a 100-mile point to point that basically starts in Franklin, North Carolina, runs through 3 different states. I don't know any other hunters that do that. It's called Shadows of the South, right? SOS 100. We're doing year 1. It's April 23rd. It is fucking gorgeous. This is the route.
So could I?
Sexy. You gotta check it out.
Is it sold out? First of all.
I think I opened some spots. If you want to run it, I'll give you an entry, dude.
Could I? Okay, you do have a 50-mile option. So there's a. Could somebody get trained up, Avery? Could I get trained up to do 100 miles
by April?
Yeah, I've got. And now I do need to tell you, I've got 5 broken ribs right now. So
5 broken ribs. What have you done in the last 6 weeks?
And a broken arm. I've been sitting on a couch for 3 weeks.
I wouldn't suggest it.
But maybe 50.
I think the 50, yes, because I think you have a base mileage that's fine with that. I mean, you could also run the 100-miler, but then what? Are you just going to wait until mid-June, late June to start running again because you're injured? I mean, I think that's kind of the thing that you want to weigh. It's not a matter of if you can do it. It's what's going to feel like after the race.
I think what I'm hearing a lot of, Russ, is that basically you need to hire Avery as a coach. By listening, needs to hire Avery or his lady Sabrina as coaches because they know what they're doing.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And are you all doing this one, Avery, or is this one? Did you know about this?
Actually, I did not know about this race, and it sounds incredible.
It's awesome.
I think I'll probably wait and let it play out on its first year since I'm signed up for Quest already, and I've kind of already built out my schedule basically into 2023, and you know, Quest is something I can, generally speaking, like kind of squeeze in, and I really enjoy running that race. And it's every time I run Quest, I have a great season. So I would like to continue that, and it's such a great start to the season for building base mileage for like really big mountain races.
And Quest is in May. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right.
So you asked me, Russ, you asked me which races that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you 3 options, right? We'll go throughout the year. Okay, Shadows is awesome. The one race that we haven't really talked about that bar none is the most scenic 50K in all of America. And I've run some I love Sean O'Brien, Ray Miller, Kiera Hinger puts on amazing races. I've run, a lot of stuff. But this is Grayson Highlands 50K. There are wild mini ponies is the highest area in Virginia. So you're like, the whole race is right at like 5,000 feet. And it's a little short too. It's probably like 28, 29 miles. But dude, it is constant views. They logged this back in the 20s to 30s. And so it's still open. So you're technically not above tree line, but you are. And it is, anybody who's ever run that, it sells out in minutes. I mean, like over the 3 distances we have, I have like 800 people in it. You know what I mean?
I've had 2 athletes run that race, Sean, and both of them had pretty good remarks. I mean, they absolutely loved it.
All right, so we got the Grayson Highlands 50K. That's in Virginia with the mini horses. We've got the, what do we call on the shadow race?
Shadows of the South.
Shadows of the South, which it just automatically tugs at me because it just my childhood was spent there. So that, that'll push me. I'll be like, oh, thinking of you, Grandma. Well, what's our third?
The third one, I mean, I love Quest. I mean, I would probably just say those 3, but they're all like within 5 weeks of each other. But honestly, one of my favorites that we have in the fall is, so I basically have 2 to choose from, which would be Sky to Summit 50K. We're actually busting out I haven't told anybody, so here we go. I have a 100K option this year, and we're changing them out so they're both point to point. And it's actually along a lot of our Shadows of the South course now as well. So I would say Sky to Summit 50K is awesome. Like, it's a mountain 50K, it's about 7,500 feet of climbing, about the same descent. It is really, really rad. And if you know Project Teleria, Dave,
Matt Cecile.
What's that?
Is Matt Cecile still a part of that?
Matt. Yeah. So back in the day, they came down and they filmed like the race video. I probably need to get a new one. It's like 10 years old, but they had a blast. And they both took this up in North Georgia. They took this like hamburger, like it was like an eating challenge, and it was like Bella's Burger or whatever. And they just downed massive burger, and they won. But then Leo Fung came back, another Canadian, and came back and crushed that like a couple of years later.
We have is Kent on the line, Jake?
He is in the room. I think
all right, Kent's in there. We're going to go to Kent in 1 minute here. Avery Collins, before we wrap up the show, what is on that race schedule? What do you got going on as far as kind of race schedule, and then just anything else that you want to tell our listeners about?
Anymore, I usually kind of start my season later into May or June, just given that we live in Silverton, and it just works out better that way. So
you're snowboarding right now? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I get out about 4 times a week, sometimes 5. Just depends on avalanche conditions, but it's been a generally safe winter this year so far.
Excellent.
But yeah, May 21st, I'll do Quest for the Crest, and then at the end of June, I'm doing San Juan Solstice 50, UTMB, and then in October, I'm doing the Snowman Race, which is a 5-day stage race through the Bhutanese Himalaya. The king is putting on the race, and Sabrina and I were invited to run the race, so really looking forward to that.
Oh, well, I see a show topic in our future here.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool. It's gotten delayed the last 2 years because of COVID, and we just had a meeting last night, and it sounds like the race is a go at the moment.
Now, and that news out of China with those ultra runners all perishing, I mean, golly, you're getting into some serious environments in there. So I'm sure you're doing a lot of preparation work for that, but that sounds life-changing.
Yeah. I mean, it should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it'll be the highest altitude I've ever been at during the race. And I don't with my year ahead, I don't foresee myself getting up at those altitudes outside of just, running the Wamanooch 14ers and just hanging out around here. I've got an FKT that I've been going for this will be my 3rd year in a row. It's Anton Krupicka's run. It's absolutely incredible.
You're doing a picnic?
You're doing Nolan's?
No, it's just it's in the Wamanooch Wilderness. It's not very well known, but it was the summer that Anton was just absolutely just ripping through the San Juans, and I think one of his most stout records he's probably ever held is it's from Purgatory Resort it's called the Chicago Basin, and just to get to the basin, it's 15 miles through wilderness, and then you have to summit 4 14ers right there in the basin and run back. So it's like 42 miles with 12 or 13K a climb, and I got within 10 minutes of his record last year, and there was I don't know, people say there was upwards of 400 or 500 down trees on the trail. So I think I'm right there. I think I can get it if they've cleared the trees. But it's a run that I always look forward to doing, and I really respect.
He's coming for you, Anton.
I respect that time.
Tony's he's a good friend of the show as well. Rooting for you on that. That's exciting. We're going to wrap the show. We've got a preview of an upcoming show. Kent's going to join us. And then Jake is going to end. He's got a question for you, Sean. Before we do that, Sean, it's been great to have you on the show. Thanks for sharing your story. We'll hope to have you back. I will get back to you on my commitment. I got to tell you that the Shadows of the South sounds really appealing. If I don't feel like I can get my body there, the fact that the Sky to Summit shares some of that trail and would be in November. Being in the South in November running does sound nice, appealing as well. Kent. Oh, Sean, I'm sorry. Did you have anything you wanted to close with?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's good to be back on podcasts and stuff again. And Avery, dude, always a pleasure, man. Avery, I'm an Avery fan. He knows this. That's all everybody said. And thank you for being being yourself unapologetically, and just being somebody who, it's really easy for other people, to look at stuff that elite runners do and whatever. He's just having fun. I love it, going to Bhutan and stuff, that's awesome. Been the Himalayas, it's amazing, dude. So just keep doing what you're doing. Don't overrate yourself. And I'm really happy that you and Sabrina are, doing well. That's super awesome. So
yeah, that sounds like one hell of a year. So I'm excited for you, Avery. Kent, welcome to the show, guys. Kent's is helping put together a show coming up in next month. Kent, what's the topic going to be?
This show is about downhill skateboarding.
Downhill skateboarding. Sean, do you know anything about downhill? When we say downhill skateboarding, what are you picturing, Sean?
I'm picturing, I watch these guys do this on Maui all the time. They've got like Kevlar gloves on with like full face helmets, like arms behind them. And it's like 30, 40 miles an hour or more. And it's like, if a car is coming the other way, you're fucking dead. Like, that's cool as shit.
Wow. Well, what do you think? Yeah, he nailed it, huh? That's pretty much it.
That's absolutely it. Yeah, Maui's a paradise for downhill skateboarding, for sure.
And Kent, this is something that you do?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
What's the fastest you say you've been on a board?
Personally, I've been in the 60s.
Woo!
Coming from Nebraska, I'm a flatland kid, so not too fast. But my good friend Aaron, who will be on the show, has been much faster than that. So.
Aaron is absolutely a legend out there. I went out and recorded with him on North Table Mountain last summer. Really cool guy. And he walked us through kind of the how he does his turns. How did you get into this world, Kent? And what are some of the kind of things we might be getting into with EP?
So I got into downhill skateboarding as a little kid when I plateaued with street skateboarding. Kind of realized I wasn't getting too much better, but bombing hills was always a good time. So kept pursuing that and found it on YouTube, basically. People on big wheels and long boards going really fast. It was super appealing. And Aaron can take us through quite a bit. He's in his later years. He's 52 years old, I believe, at this point, and has been able to find longevity in this really dangerous sport. So he's got a good mind for it. He'll probably talk us through how to navigate a really fast road and just maybe more of the meditative or spiritual side of it, even how you have to get in a mind state to be doing that sort of dangerous, risky thing.
All right. So do we have that book? Do we have a date on that?
That'll be on the 9th of March.
March 9th, y'all. Y'all can join if you want to join in the discussion and ask EP a question. Hit us up at dispatchradioteam@gmail.com. We'll get you invited. Otherwise, just go to our YouTube page. On the time of recording, we always record Wednesday on the noon hour Mountain Time, and you can join the discussion live that way. Jake, close it out. He's got a question for our guests.
Yes, and I like it when we have runners because I feel like it's the perfect kind of.
Yeah, especially runners that run long distances because they have to listen to music at least sometimes.
Yes. We are building for Dispatch Radio a workout playlist featuring a contribution from all of our guests that we have on. So, we got some variety of different kinds of athletes and what gets them pumped. So, if Avery, Sean, and I'll save you, Kent, for your episode. Actually,
you're on the spot. Give us a tune.
Avery and Sean, if you can give us a tune for
our running mix.
I'll just go to my very most recent add to the race day playlist. It's Changed by Gucci Mane and Big Sean.
Okay,
good. That'll go well with mine. I got Cardi B on there. All right.
I'm going to go with probably Lamb of God, the song Ruin. I love it.
Lamb of God. That sounds like something you listen to while you're doing the Georgia death rates, for sure.
That's right.
Kent, kicking it to the young buck.
Sorry. What was the song by Lamb of God one more time?
Ruin.
Let's see. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Over to Ken.
I think Gucci's based out of, isn't he from Atlanta, Sean?
Dude, we got like all, I think so. We got like all the rappers and stuff here. Like, this is not all the rappers, obviously, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. Atlanta's like a huge mecca for definitely rap music and music in general. Yeah,
The culture is incredible, man. It is absolutely incredible.
It's weird traveling other places where it's like, oh, I'm just so used to that growing up in that game my whole life. And you're like, oh wow, yeah, it's different.
All right, and rounding out our panel, Kent, you got a song for us?
Let's do Nas, Get Down.
All right, we're gonna get down with some Nas, guys. It's been great. Sean, thanks so much for joining. We'll look forward to touching base again, announcing my decision on the commitments. Avery, good luck with all the snowboarding going on right now and the pursuit of your ambitious goals. Hope you get to the Himalaya. That would be really rad. And we'd love to do a show kind of breaking down, how you're approaching a trip like that when it gets closer to the time. And producer Jake, thank you as always. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Thank you.
All right. Woo-hoo. I'm going to go watch some Champions League soccer because,
Who's playing?
we got Liverpool versus Inter Milan.
Oh, you'll never walk alone, baby.
Nice. All right, guys.
Enjoy
See ya.
it. All right, bye.
Adios.